an album every other day.
Yeah. Bro, I've been rapping to myself in the shower. I've been creating but I've been trying to formulate my own raps, innit? And I've been like...
You trying to rap?
No, I just in my head, innit? I'm just trying
Boys.
to... Yeah, I mean, practicing that.
Wait, the group who could do the best
and I've been so I've been saying a word and then a bar, yeah? Then I won't finish. I'll be like, no. So I'll fill it out with the...
Wait, does anyone here try freestyle to themselves? Because I do it sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
I do it on a regs. Like regular, I just try freestyle to
Yeah,
myself.
sometimes, yeah.
I might rap over different beats, but let's say I'm rapping a Wu-Tang song, but I might rap it over a Nas beat.
Oh, swear.
For some weird reason. So I might do Inspector Deck over It Ain't Hard to Tell for some reason, as long as it fits.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
I see why you're the biggest Nas fan.
I just did it as an example.
But sometimes I'll just take a word and I'll just start.
No, I do that. Like if I see something, I'll just try freestyle it. I don't know why. That's just something I've always been trying to do. I'm shit, but we move. I could have been a better rapper, but that's another conversation for another day.
You could not.
I promise I genuinely think I could have been the best rapper. I definitely could have. You're gonna beat me, show you horror.
I mean, if you did, you can never show your face.
I'll show you horror.
One day I'm gonna freestyle on this stuff.
Yo, show you horror's not beating me in a battle.
Why?
I just feel like it, man.
Or Tony D.
Do you need a beat?
Nah, no beat. Acapella.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Acapella.
What's going on, world? Welcome to episode 63 of the Rhymes Like Diamonds podcast with your boys Peter,
Yo.
Mohammed,
Yo.
and myself, Yummy. Happy New Year from us.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, boys.
Happy New Year.
How we doing?
Very well, bro. Very, very, very well. How are you?
That was like 5 berries.
That was a lot of very.
It was a lot of berries, isn't it?
New Year, new
Am
P.
I overexcited?
Potentially.
It's been a long time coming. I feel like I haven't seen
I've
you
missed
boys
this,
in a
man. It's
minute.
been a while.
Yeah, it's been a month. I feel like that's all us three in the same room. I feel like.
It's like a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
I
Happy
missed
to
you
be-
guys, man.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what?
It's like it's become a
So wait,
fixture.
you're gonna tell me you missed me too?
I mean, I saw you
I
last
don't
week,
say it.
so
No, I'm joking. I miss you too. But you know, this become a fixture in our life,
Yeah.
and it just when you go a month without it, you genuinely. I felt myself like,
Yeah.
or like a couple Saturdays have gone past. What am I doing?
very true. But we did have a well-deserved break over Christmas and obviously all
Yes.
that. So yeah, man, we're very, very happy to be back. It's good to be back, ready to pod and all that. Boys, how were your Christmases?
Good, man. It was a very low-key one, as always. Very chilled. Just ate, drank, and that was pretty much it. Yeah, back on the booze.
Are you back on the booze?
Back on the booze.
News alert. News alert.
News. That's breaking news.
Yeah, back
Breaking
on the booze. Oh, what, Mo? What, you didn't know?
I knew, but I didn't know you started
Oh,
already.
you
We
didn't
left
know?
that. Yo, no, we left that. You're gonna go back on the booze.
Yeah, no.
I haven't seen you. It's been a month. It's been pod, innit? It's
Yeah,
been
no,
Christmas.
I'm back
New
on the
Year's.
booze now. Taking it easy though, as always. But
Yeah,
yeah,
please.
it's cool,
Yeah,
man.
before you said that, it sounded mad alcoholic.
I know,
But,
right? I know, right?
yeah, it sounded a bit like, should we help this guy?
Yeah.
But good to hear. Good to hear.
How
How was
was
yours?
It was good, man. A weird one. So basically, over the Christmas period, I think it was the week we dropped our last episode. The vid got me. The vid got me. It was the 15th, and I was isolating all the way up to Christmas Day. That was fun. Omicron is real.
You was the only
COVID
one
is real.
waiting out of us three to get it.
Yeah,
It was pending. for you.
Yeah. I didn't think it would get me.
Yeah.
Delta never got me, but then Omicron got me.
Yeah.
And I had aches everywhere.
Oh
I had
God.
like cold-like symptoms. I was coughing, stuffy nose, all of that. I was getting like really mad sweats at night.
Oh, you had it.
I had
I can't
it.
like that's a lot.
I had it.
Smell, taste, good.
Smell, taste was good. It was just like cold symptoms more than like the traditional COVID systems that we've been used to. But yeah, man, feeling good now. Christmas is calm. I was with Mumsy. We were just chilling, eating, watching Home Alone and stuff like that. I was up until like, I don't know, 3-4 in the morning just with a bottle of, this is going to sound mad like alcoholic, but whatever. I was up until like 3-4 in the morning just in bed, just like listening to like music, just like rapping to myself actually.
Were you drunk?
Pretty drunk.
He was sick off his head.
So Boxing Day was a bit of a write-off, a complete write-off. But yeah, man, it was cool. It was very, very all right. But you know, happy that Christmas is out the way, to be honest.
Yeah, we know Mohammed doesn't celebrate Christmas.
No,
so
not me.
we won't ask that
So
question.
how was your day on the 25th?
I do
of
the same
December?
thing on Christmas. It's just basketball. They do 5 games from like 2 to 3 in
They
the
need to
morning.
stop that.
So what does the Quran say about Christmas? Does it say anything at all?
Not one thing.
Okay.
No, we just don't. Nah.
Just don't acknowledge it.
Pagan holiday, isn't it?
Yeah, we don't do it. Essentially, so I just chill. I do the same. Literally every year, it's the same routine. They do 5 games of basketball. The best teams play each other. The kind of matches we're waiting for.
Yeah.
You just sit back and enjoy it.
So what? Yeah, how are you gonna explain Christmas to your kids?
Good question. I don't know. You know, I think I might just like ride the wave of like, yeah, sure, white man, fat white man, Santa Claus, blah 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 blah. But when it gets to a certain point, I'll be like, yeah, that was all a lie. I said that because consumerism,
Capitalism
and colonialism, and all of the isms you can think of. Yeah, I think just give kids joy, innit? You don't want your kids to be the only kids that don't believe in Christmas in amongst their classmates and all that stuff. Nah, man, let them ride the wave for a bit. But when they get to an age where they understand it, I'll be like, yo, I paid for all.
That's what I wrestle with. Like, how am I gonna like explain it to my kids, especially like with the information that I have about like, you know, pagan holidays and stuff? It's kind of like, do I ignore that and just let them be kids, or do I, because I know better, educate them so that they know better?
I'm gonna just let them be kids, because you know what it is. You remember that episode of Everybody Hits Chris, where instead of celebrating Christmas, they celebrated Kwanzaa. Them kids were not having a good time.
I'm not doing Kwanzaa.
They weren't happy.
You don't want to do Kwanzaa?
Do you know what? I could do the Christmas without the symbolism.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? So I won't really have the trees up. I'll get present.
But that day means something still.
It's just family time.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. You could do it, right? But
like,
the 25th
that's the only thing that I really love. Like, I enjoy family time. So yeah.
I hear that. Well, to keep it rap, what's your favorite rap Christmas song, if you have one?
Rap.
What's the Outcast tune? Players Ball.
Is that a Christmas song?
Yeah.
Was that really a Christmas song?
Yeah, it was supposed to be.
Oh, fair.
Yeah, we all shows.
I mean, Run DMC, Christmas on Hollis is a great one. Run the Jewels, I think it was a fucking Christmas miracle. That's great too. But yeah, man, good to hear that you guys are well.
Yes.
On all that stuff. Thank you everyone for listening. Whether you're listening on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and we are now on Amazon Music. So thank you to all the Amazon Music listeners. There are any. I don't even know if there's a thing.
Oh, I was going to say do the round of applause, man.
I don't even know if we
Don't
can.
even have it.
Do we not have it?
No, I don't think so.
For another day, innit? Just clap to the mic, innit? Clap for ourselves.
Come on now. Beat clap, bro. We're on Amazon. Yeah, me.
We're on Amazon Prime, so yeah. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff Bezos, Mr. Bezos. But yeah, man, thank you very much for listening. If you're new to the show, we're just 3 black boys from London, just chatting about this thing called rap that we love and we've grown up with. So we hope that you can join us for the ride. There's gonna be a lot of like raised voices, a lot of arguments, a lot of philosophical questions. You know, a lot of debating about what a classic means, but you know, you'll get to know that within time, I'm sure. Yeah. But yeah, man, we thank you very much for listening. We're just gonna get straight to it, to be honest. So, boys, let's start with Peter. It's obviously been a while since we last podded.
Yes.
So, what have you been listening to, bro?
So you guys have said that you're capping me at 4 albums or 5 albums.
I said 3.
Come on, man.
I wanted to say.
I said 3. Read the group chat, bro.
3 is that's unreasonable. Let me do 4.
Fine.
5 is really what we should be doing.
Why?
Because like we do top 5s all the time. Do you know what I mean? Just makes sense, doesn't it? Like 3. That's not really giving me like a wide. It's not giving me a wide range of me showing my
vast musical
versatility. Is it?
I mean, the idea of capping it to 3 is so that you can get into more detail about the ones that you really like.
Let me do 5.
Do your 5, Pete.
Go on then. Pete, bending the rules.
As always. I discovered a young lady who goes by the name of, it's a weird name, it's called Art School Girlfriend. I was watching a show on BBC and the song was playing in the background. I'm trying to remember the name of the program, but I can't, it's escaping me. And I Shazammed it and I really enjoyed the song. She dropped a song called Diving, which I really loved. So I just bought her album, which is called Is It Like Where You Are? And I've been listening to that and I just think she's really, really talented. So I've been checking that out. I've been listening to Nas and Hit Boy's album, Magic as well, which I really, really love. Nas is, he should not still be rapping this well.
The group chat was mad the day that dropped.
Yes, it was. I've been listening to Kirby, her album known as Sis, He Wasn't the One. Dope album, dope R&B album for any R&B listeners out there. Joyce Wrice, Overgrown album, been listening to that as well. And I've been listening to Curren and Alchemist, Covert, Coup.
Bad Man album.
Yes, sir.
Bad Man album.
And that's my 5.
Thank you. So 2 more than I asked. Mo?
Well, I ain't got 5 because I keep to the rules.
Thank you.
But I've recent album I listened to, the most recent was Corday's album that just dropped.
Who's?
Corday.
Corday.
I'm not mad at it at all.
From Bird's Eye View.
From a Bird's Eye View. From what I've heard, I haven't properly sat with it. Briefly listened to about 5 or 6 songs off it. I'm not mad at it at all. The Stevie Wonder song goes hard for me. The one with her and Little Dirk so far, I've liked it. So the album so far to me has been outstanding. I do have one flaw in it, but we don't need to talk about it. There is just one outstanding flaw in that album.
Talk about it, bro.
There's just a verse on that album that's very, 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 very mid.
We'll take a little bit of time to talk about that verse. We're talking about Eminem, right?
Yes, but we'll get to it later. His verse on that album should have just, you know what Kanye West done to Soulja Boy when he had a verse on Kanye's album. Kanye was like, "No, it's not doing
Cut
it."
it.
He should have done
Cut
that.
it.
Eminem's
What made the verse mid?
I hated his flow.
It took
I hated
too long.
the rhyme pattern. I hated the way he was spitting. It was just
Now, you know what it is? It's the same thing with EPMD too. If you had just given him 32 bars,
yeah.
the verse would have been fine. I would even say it would have been good. But he just went on for too long.
And it's just that rapidly rap, like, you know that flow when he just goes quick flow?
Skippy.
Yeah, skipping. It's just like, you're saying a
Man,
lot
that
of
triple time flow that no one really cares about.
But yeah, so Corday's album, Eminem's verse on it was whack. I've also recently been doing where I've got about a few rappers whose discography I want to go through just to kind of remind myself on where I kind of rank them, because I've got rankings, but it's been so long since I've gone back to the discography. It's like, I just want to make sure that I'm still correct about it. So I recently sat through Rick Ross's album just to see how I feel about his. And right now I'm on Nas. So I've done Illmatic a couple of days ago. I'm on It Was Written Now. And I'm just going to, hopefully by next Friday, or the week after, clean through Nas's. Then I've got Biggie. So there's a few rappers whose discography I'm going to go through.
You got Tupac.
Tupac's on that list as well. But I go through his so often that, like, I don't remember the last time I sat through Nas's discography. Even though I know it, I don't remember the last time I sat on It Was Written. I don't remember the last time I sat on Godson or anything like that. So he's the one I really want to do. So I picked Rick Ross was just for fun. Now I'm doing Nas to sit on and really.
Can I tell you the Nas albums that you won't be? Actually,
no, I already know which ones I like.
I'm not even doing that.
No, I know which ones.
Nas is on that list of people that will not receive slander from me.
Yeah, no, because
I just need to get out of the habit of doing it. So
you can't help it sometimes. But like, I know what I like and what I don't like already from Nas's discography. I just want to, you know, when you just want to reconnect with it and just feel how you feel. So yeah, I'm on It Was Written right now. This is It Was Written on the way here.
I hear that. I'm kind of on that wave as well. But I'm trying to revisit like the first wave of Wu-Tang albums. So like The Cow, One of the Equivalent Links, Iron Man, Return to the 36 Chambers, Liquid Swords. I had a run, like maybe it was like last week, where I was just listening to certain songs from those albums and just remembering, yo, these albums are dope. So at some point I'm going to go through all of them again as well.
Yeah, that's the thing
I'm
I'm
on
trying
that
to
wave,
capture.
on a revisiting wave. But for me, I've been listening to Corday's album as well. Been listening to it since it dropped. Solid album, man. I think Corday is getting better. The production on it is just he got out the big guns, man. He seems so comfortable and assured. And one thing I really love about Corday is his sincerity when he's rapping. It's not the most like lyrical miracle, but you feel everything he talks about. He's clear, he's concise, he's very sincere, he's very considerate. And I really love that about him. Like Sinister with Lil Wayne, man. Lil Wayne, yeah, man. Lil Wayne should only do guest features now.
Yeah,
I feel like,
because that's one of the nicest verses I've heard from Wayne in.
Yeah, man, he tap danced all over that one. But generally, front to back, dope album. Very, very excited for Corday, man, and his future and just where he goes, man. So salute to him. I also listened to another album that dropped recently, Earl Sweatshirt, Sick. 22 minutes. Earl Sweatshirt is known for his kind of dense lyrics, but I feel like he kind of simplified it a little bit more in this one. I feel like from front to back is a really good project if you like your underground kind of abstract rap, but you get like really soulful production from the Alchemist, or you get like really hard hitting production by Black Noise. Zalupas and Arm & Hammer did their thing on the guest features. Generally, Earl, he's in that lane where he's always going to give you consistent work, even if you don't necessarily mess with it. He's always going to give you like good work, even if it's not like, 30, 40, 50 minutes long. It never really needs to be anyway, because in most of his songs, most of the bars could fit like 3 or 4 songs anyway. So salute to Earl, really, really dope project. And lastly, I've been vibing to Gunna's new album, man.
I was about to ask you.
GS Forever. Yeah, man, I feel like Why are you looking at Mo?
I didn't say a word.
I was waiting. I
You
was
looked
going
at
to
him,
ask you
though.
about that. He definitely looked at me.
Didn't say a word.
He
You looked at him though.
Can I not look at my boy?
No, sir.
He
I
looked at
haven't
me
seen
in
my
disgust.
boy in like over a month.
No,
Look at my
Listen,
boy.
I saw your eyes roll, sir.
He looked at me in disgust.
I did
just want
not
the
roll
record
my
to
I
eyes.
saw your eyes roll,
I did
sir.
not roll my eyes.
Anyway, these are my choices, innit?
What's Warner saying?
I've been vibing to Gunna DS forever. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Gunna. I think it was Drip or Drown 2, the one with Speed It Up. And I was like, this kind of mid. It kind of just does the same thing over 14 tracks. But I guess with DS4, even though it kind of still does that, it was just a little bit more vibey. Like, it was something you could just slap on, not take too seriously, have in the background while you're doing whatever. And it's just a vibe, man. Like, that's kind of just what he does. I'm not looking for anything deep from him. If he does do something deep, that's cool. But, generally, if you're just trying to look for something to just like chill to and, vibe to, then DS Forever is definitely that. Like 21 Savage gives you another dope verse. Chloe Bailey, who allegedly Gunna's dating, does her thing. Even Kodak Black, like he's a little sus recently, but even he did his thing. So, I can appreciate it for what it was. And he gave us the new phrase, that ain't P.
That ain't
And that's
P.
P. So, you know what I mean? And we're not talking about Peter. We're just talking about P.
P.
The P emoji. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Didn't he get into it with Freddie Gibbs?
He did get into Freddie Gibbs. So the whole backstory with that is Freddie Gibbs, I think, started off by saying that he doesn't like snitch guys. And he alluded to the fact that, or the alleged fact that Gunna was snitching on like one of his friends on this show. I think, was it Crime Watchers?
Yeah.
And Gunna was like, I wasn't snitching, I was just on the show. And then Gunna has a line on his new album where he's like, I don't fuck with Freddie Gibbs, which obviously isn't the most sophisticated diss bar ever, but, it made the headlines. And Freddie Gibbs is just kind of enjoying this moment in the sun.
He definitely is.
So,
Definitely is.
that's that. It's not going to go anywhere, but, first major rap beef of the year, if you want to call it that. So, salute to Freddie, salute to Gunna, and salute to everybody, man. Listen to it if you haven't already.
And that list was P.
That list was P, and we're going to put all of our choices in the description of the episode. So if you want to check out any of those choices, go true.
Before we start, the name of the program on BBC that I was referring to is The Girl Before.
The Girl Before.
Yeah, you guys should check it out too.
Art School Girlfriend, yeah?
Yes.
Is it a show or?
Yeah,
Right,
probably.
so then I'll check it
I
out.
think you really like it.
I can check
Psychological thriller.
Oh,
it. Ooh,
Yeah.
now we're talking.
Mm-hmm.
fair enough. In that case, then, we'll move on to the first topic of 2022.
Oh, fuck.
Pete, do you want to start this one off? Because this is something that you suggested. We're about to get into some old chicken shit.
Yeah.
Respectfully.
No, it's not respectfully, but it's okay.
I resent the fact that you're making me start this. I feel like there's indirects there. You're trying to call me old.
Not at all. I just feel like you'd have a better job of explaining this because, you came out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, essentially,
You are.
I just wanted to understand and explore with you guys, I guess, why rappers from the 80s did not last as long as, say, rappers from the 90s, and just compare and contrast and understand what happened really. So that's what this topic is.
Interesting.
I think for me, like, I think it starts with like just how we as a society just look at aging, right? For some reason, no matter what industry you're in, it's just like everything seems to be a young man, a young woman's game, innit? So hip hop and rap just falls in line with that. But I think if we want to get a bit like more techie, I think it starts with like some of these rappers from the 80s just not really being able to adapt to like new sounds that were coming in.
That's what I think it is.
A lot of the flows, they weren't really able to adapt. A lot of them was like keeping the same flows, like tap your hands about it. These are the breaks.
What's that one? The freaks come at night. Dum.
Hey, shout out Houdini.
Shout out to Houdini
That's a
for
bad
always,
isn't it?
always.
But when you look at rappers from the 80s and then you hear the sound that was in place then, and then you transition into the 90s and you start seeing the sound that starts getting ushered in, like you could just see where there was a bit of a mismatch for the 80s rappers, I guess, trying to sound how they sound on 90s beats, for instance. And even how they were sounding alongside the rappers being developed in the 90s as well. You could just hear that there was just like, something's not quite right here. And I guess we found that listeners, audiences were just leaning more towards the, you know, the emergence of certain rappers and certain types of skills and sounds that were coming through in the 90s. That was just very different from the 80s. So I think that's where a lot of it came from. But what do you guys think?
I hear that. Mo, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I just think there's a number of reasons why they couldn't climatize to the 90s or not.
Climatize? I
don't want to talk too much. It's 2022. Or the reason why they couldn't transcend to the 90s for a number of reasons. And I'll break it down why.
Transcend.
Look, this is 2022. We're trying to up the levels. No, I'm joking. I think, no, honestly, all jokes aside, I think number one is because it was still early in the game. So they were still learning as they go, whereas the 90s had the 80s as a blueprint on where it went wrong or why they didn't have the continuation. And if we're being honest, I don't think it's just the 80s that don't have rappers. Because if you look at the 90s, how many rappers are still relevant from the 90s today?
More so than the 80s.
But really, there's only about maybe 4?
J, Nas, M.
I don't really count M as 90s.
M is 90s, man.
Late 90s, like more 2000s.
Still, but he came out in the 90s.
All right,
he came out in the 90s.
All right, so J,
not really.
Let's just say J, Nas.
Yes, really.
Well, at 99.
That is the 90s.
Yeah, but if it's like on the back end,
this guy's trying to do, you know, the award shows, how the award shows, if you drop
but
out.
if it's like the back end of 99 going into 2000s, can he really be considered?
I mean, if we're going to be technical, he dropped his first album in 97, 96.
Like, we're born in the 90s, but we're not 90s babies like that. Really?
We're definitely 90s.
We're more like 2000s if we want to keep it a buck.
Yeah, but we're being technical with that, right?
Yeah.
The same way I'm being technical with Eminem. He's 90s.
All right, so who else would you give me? J, Nas, M. My point being, there's 3. Say you got 3 or 4 from the 90s. That's still not.
I think that's incorrect.
You think there's more than
because I think you're looking at it from a scale of like wide and crazy global success and popularity.
Are you just like musically?
There were a lot of artists that came from the 90s that had stellar catalogs.
I hear you.
I made like a decent career of this thing.
Oh yeah, Fat Joe still.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas, how many rappers from the 80s do you see that have had like great catalogs?
I mean, have we ever cared to look?
Yeah, for sure.
We
have.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about general hip hop fans. Have we ever cared to look past the 80s for certain artists?
Our generation, probably not.
Are we checking for KRS-One's new album? Are we checking for Big Daddy Kane's new album?
Rakim's new album?
Probably not.
Have we been since the 90s?
Probably not, no.
You know what I mean? So I feel like it's a mixture of things, really. I feel like, yes, they weren't acclimatized to the kind of production.
So I don't Yemi get it all when he says acclimatized, but I do.
Because Yemi's a writer.
I hate you, man.
I mean, he's got a degree. Journalism.
But he's not a writer anymore, is he? He's retired.
True.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of not getting acclimatized to kind of the production advances that were taking place. I feel like maybe for some quarters of that era and that generation, maybe they thought that their way was the best way and they refused to really get involved with anything that was going on after that. Maybe there was a kind of attitude where, you know, we're the benchmark. Because the 80s, like the late 80s especially, is seen as like the first golden age. Like Slick Rick, Big Daddy Kane, Eric B. and Rakim, these sort of people. Maybe they felt like in a way, well, maybe not them, but them and their era kind of feel like, you know, we are the benchmark. We don't need to catch up with anybody. You need to catch up to us, sort of thing. I also think that us as fans, kind of with all the new hip hop that was coming out as well, they kind of just got lost in the shuffle because, you know, Nas is coming out, Jay is coming out, Biggie's coming out. You might not necessarily have enough time for, you know, Rakim and Big Daddy Kane and Slick Rick and Cool G.
I think that's what it is.
Like you might have had in the 80s sort of thing. So as hip hop became more and more, as bigger and more democratized in that way,
they got left.
Some people just kind of fell by the wayside and got left behind for whatever reason. You know what I mean? They probably could have tried a little bit harder to be more, I like to say, all-purpose seasoning with it, rather than just staying in their lane of like, you know, we were the 80s, this is what we were. A bit like LL Cool J. LL Cool J is someone who I'd say was very transcendent because he embraced whatever new was coming. sort of thing, in a way that wasn't corny. I feel like a lot of rappers from that generation have had that trouble with that transition, whether it's because they've tried to and it hasn't worked, or they just have refused to.
Okay, so I mean, to that, so what do you say for the ones from the 80s that tried to? Because Big Daddy Kane was probably one of the earliest rappers that tried to marry R&B and hip hop, but it just wasn't. I think he was a bit too early, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I think you just answered your own question.
What he did was essentially what Bad Boy and the blueprint for like Biggie ended up doing. So why didn't it connect?
I think you just answered your own question. It was too early. I think it was an idea that was ahead of its time, and it took a few years for people to really catch up to it. Maybe Big Daddy Kane wasn't the best proponent of it, even if he was the original. But sometimes the original isn't as good as what you can make it. So like everybody says that, Jay and Big come from the Big Daddy Kane tree. You could argue that Jay and Big, rapping and song making wise, did it better than Big Daddy Kane, even if he is the branch. You know what I'm saying? So he took that idea, made it his, and even if it didn't really pop off for him because it was a time where it wasn't really happening like that, it's only later that we appreciate and we pay dues and we pay respect to people like him that made that transition and made that move kind of possible. But could you say there's more Big Daddy Kanes than, let's say, I don't know, KRS Ones, for example, the people that still say real hip hop and all that stuff? You know what I'm saying? Those guys, there's a lot more of those guys that were kind of reluctant maybe to change than the people that were kind of trying to embrace it.
Because I think when you're at the forefront, you're pig-headed in terms of if I've created this, not if I've created this, but if I've brought this to the forefront, you guys need to adjust to the way I am. And if you think about it, if we're fans here and we're listening to, and we was born in that era and we're listening to Rocky and Big Daddy Kane, all of them on and on. But then Jay comes out, Nas comes out, and then you've got West Coast rappers coming out new as well. So you've got the Pucks, you've got the NWA. So it's like you've got so much different things that these lot by default now have to play catch up. And if you don't want to play catch up, it's a thing where these guys are just going to run with the baton and go on another level. Do you know what I mean? So it's like once rap became a thing and it went global and you got people from other coasts coming out, because at that point it was very East Coast. So I just think that's what happened essentially. I just think it became big and it just became that these guys took the baton and ran with it. Yeah, and now these guys need to pick up. And also the rhyming syllables, all of that was very old school to some of them. Yeah. And it's like, if you're born in the 90s, say we're born in 92 and then it's 97, we're young kids, we're not going to go back and maybe appreciate it because we weren't at that time of when that was the thing compared to. It's
like you had to be there type of.
Yeah, fact. That's literally what it is to me.
I think we should separate like mainstream from underground as well, though. And like I think that's like really key, because like Public Enemy from the 80s, but I mean they still tour today. So I think it's important that we don't just look at it from a mainstream lens.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? Because there are rappers from the 80s that were able to.
No, I'm not saying they.
I know, but I think like the way this conversation has gone so far, I think how it may sound as though we're looking at it purely from a lens of rappers from the 80s that weren't able to transition on a mainstream level and keep up with what sound was coming in the 90s on a mainstream level.
Yeah, you could only really say LL Cool J that did.
Public Enemy. Oh, you mean mainstream?
From the mainstream. In terms of the 80s.
Will Smith, Fresh Prince?
Will Smith.
KRS, nah.
Not a mainstream like that.
I mean, but Rakim was featured on that tune with Truth Hurts.
True. And he was recycling bars from the 80s.
Thinking of a mess.
Precisely.
You, bro, I was waiting for you. I was waiting for Pete. I was looking at you. I was like, I know he's going to drop it.
But to the Rakim point, I was going to mention him. Like, obviously, he went solo after Eric B. and Rakim. I think they broke up in like 92. And then he came back in like 97. And he was rapping over Primo beats. Now, Primo isn't necessarily mainstream, but I wouldn't necessarily call him underground either. I think he's in that happy medium. So I feel like with some of these 80s rappers, they've kind of found a lane in the 90s that even if they're not mainstream, they're still making good quality work. They're still linking with producers or rappers of the era that kind of make them relevant in that respect. So I agree. I feel like there should be a delineation between mainstream and underground, because a lot of the 80s rappers went quote unquote underground after the 80s anyway, because they weren't popping, they weren't mainstream. They had to. You know, Run DMC was still dropping albums up until the 90s. I don't think anyone heard them, but they were still doing that. Same with Rakim. Same with KRS. KRS is still dropping albums. I'm trying to think of anybody else from that era. Slick Rick still drops albums.
No, he doesn't.
Does he not?
He stops in like 99.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool. Fair enough. Well, he did that one verse with Madlib and Mos Def in 09. So there's that.
He was on West Side Guns, like one of his most recent projects.
There you go. Yes, he was.
But he did not sound great.
Absolutely.
And here's the thing. Because I remember when we were in the old studio, I remember we were talking about Burna Boy's album. And he had a song called Naughty by Nature.
With Naughty by Nature.
With Naughty by Nature. And you didn't want to listen.
Horrible.
You didn't
Want to listen to it though.
Horrible.
But why is that?
I'm just not trying to hear Naughty by Nature on Afrobeats.
Okay, cool. EPMD 2 had EPMD on there. EPMD are seen as one of the best.
I did not like that track.
Why not?
I know what you're doing.
I want you to answer the question.
I'll answer the question. They just did not.
That was great.
They just did not sound of the time. Their flow sounded.
So that's on.
That's the problem.
Cool.
That's the
Cool. Is that on them or is that on us as the fans who have kind of put them in this box?
They've put themselves in that box by still sounding the same. You can't hold it against us because of the era that we grew up in. They were before our era. It's not on us to tune our ears to how they sound today.
Cool.
It's for them to tune their sound and flow to what's happening to a degree now.
Cool. But what then happens if they try to adapt and people say, that didn't run, you should have done what you're used to doing?
But the adaptation is more than just production. It's to do with your flow.
I'm talking about the flow.
And sometimes you're just not able to do it.
I'm talking about the flow.
Like MC Shan's a perfect example. He still sounds like when KRS-One made The Bridge Is Over. He still sounds like that, bro. There was just some musicians that just aren't able to kind of just break out of their, do you know what I mean? Like,
they're built.
Cool G Rap, perfect example. He was great at it. Do you know what I mean? How he sounded when he first came out with like Juice Crew and that is different to how he ended up sounding in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He was able to adapt it. Kane as well. If Kane wanted to, I think Kane could still do a thing. Do you know what I mean? Because his flow isn't that dated. You can still hear like a slight, do you know what I mean? But it's not that dated.
I feel like there's a difference between the Kanes of this world and the MC Shans. I've never listened to an MC Shan song. Probably never will. And Cool G Rap and Big Daddy Kane being lyrical masters generally, they have more of a command on flow. So they can kind of see where the climate is going, but adapting it to where they still sound authentic.
Bro, even Rakim, right? I re-listened to the Blueprint 2 album by Jay-Z.
Yeah.
There's a song on there called The Watcher featuring Dr. Dre and Rakim. Rakim sounded good on it, but he still had that slight 80s feel. It's just slight. And I just don't think he could like stand the test of time because of that.
But
in what way though? Because he always will. Because
flow, not lyrics. It's flow. He's probably saying amazing stuff, but if the flow isn't, if it sounds too, it just won't really.
I mean, it's subjective
for me, man.
Yeah, it's subjective because some people might like that. Some people might like that 80s flow over 2000s beats.
And this is the old head that you man.
You're not. Don't do it in quotation.
You man say I'm an old.
You man say.
Don't do it in a quotation.
But this is me
my
saying.
brother, you just mentioned MC Shan.
But this is me saying this though. Like it just sounds too like dated, man.
That's what the problem is, though. I guess that they just. But let me ask you guys.
But do 90s rappers have the same issue?
That's what my question was, though. My question was, we rate the 90s rappers.
Naughty by Nature. Was it different?
No, that's not what my issue was. It wasn't that they sounded dated. I just never want to hear Burna Boy with Naughty by Nature. What kind of like link up is that?
All right, but take that out of it. How did they perform?
If you saw like a leaflet, that someone was promoting like a rave or something, and they're like, oh, DJ's gonna be spinning Burna Boy and Naughty by Nature,
and Tretch is gonna come out.
Are you going to that rave?
Yes.
Yemi.
Okay, Yemi's mate.
Yemi,
he's a weirdo, isn't it? Mo, are you going to that rave?
No. So
okay
Tretch,
then.
but impossible.
How did they perform? Take away your hatred for the song. How did they perform?
Not great.
And why do you think that is?
They just couldn't catch it.
They couldn't catch the
beat.
Is that because of the beat or because of the way they were rapping?
Both.
All right. Well, I mean,
but did the 90s? Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off a bit. But did the 90s have this problem? But we're just blind to it because we grew up on them. Like, if you ask a kid that was born in 2005, or 2008 about Jay,
Some bros.
they might say to you, yo, Jay sounds dated.
Absolutely not.
No, that's because we've
Let me talk.
Let me talk. Because it's just, you know how you said, yo, we didn't grow up on you. You had to adjust your to us. If you ask a kid that was born 2010, not 2010, say 2005, if you ask them to listen to Jay now, you don't think that they will say, yo, this sounds like he's from way back when because of what they used to
I'm probably
now.
too biased.
That's what I'm saying.
Depends on what they're
I'm
listening
saying,
to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, is it the 80s or is it just the cause of the way
I think the same rule applies to the 90s because
that's what I'm saying.
There's some 90, there's some 90s specific. OC, for example, or like Lord Finesse.
Bro, I never want to hear J. Rue the Damager after 90s.
J. Rue the Damager is a perfect. His Tiny Desk recently was good, but he was rapping 90 songs. But those people that kind of stayed primarily in the 90s, the same applies to them. The only thing with them is it's a little bit different because they're a little bit more, let me say,
a bit more like less rigid.
Yeah. They're more fluid
because they would still rhyme on like different production.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That doesn't sound like boom bap.
That's just one thing.
They'll still try a thing.
Yeah.
Whereas the 80s rappers weren't really. They'll still keep to like the traditional type of beat. Whereas the 90s were a bit more fluid.
Yeah, 100%.
Because there are rappers from the 90s. There's a lot of rappers from the 90s that are still making music that don't sound like 90s music at all and don't sound like 90s artists.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
No, I hear you. And the question I'm asking is, did we train our ears to get adjusted to it, if that makes sense? Like, did we train our ear to get adjusted to the way Nas raps? Whereas if you get a kid that was born in a certain time and he listens to Nas the way we listen to Rakim, how would they view it? Would they view it the same way? Do you know what I mean?
I get
have
what you're
we
saying.
just accustomed? Have we just become norm? Because if you ask a kid, I'm just saying, if you ask a kid today, yo, would put on 444 or put on a Nas album and go, yo, how you sound? Do you think they might look at it the same way as, yo, this guy sounds dated?
Nas don't rap the same. But Nas don't rap the same.
No, I don't. That's what
as he does in the 90s as he does today.
I don't think
Depends on what they listen to, though.
I don't think he does.
Neither does Black Thought. Neither does Jay.
Cool, but if they only listen to, let's say, for example, Future and
That's
Young
what I'm
Thug,
saying.
they might think that Jay is dated.
That's what I'm
So
saying.
it depends on what they're listening to. It depends on what their tastes are. If their tastes are Jay-Z and Nas, then obviously the answer is no. But if they are even like, let's say, Roddy Ricch or, anyone of that
Gunners
ilk,
of the world and them.
of the Gunners of the world, they're probably going to think
This is
it's dated.
I don't think so. I think they will more so have an issue with how many words that rappers are saying. Because like the Gunners and all these other guys, they're a lot more like melodic. They're not that traditional. There's not many words actually being said. It's more,
That's what I'm
it's
saying.
more the vibe. So the Jays and the Nas's and all them man there, they're saying more words than that. There's a bit more flow to it. It's less melodic. There's like actual like sentences.
But is that dated?
Actual English.
But is that dated?
So I think
Don't do that.
I think that's the issue that
You just shitted on my album choice.
I think that's the issue that these youngsters will have.
But let me ask you a question though: is that dated? If
It might
Jay-Z
be.
is not getting accustomed to what the kids are listening to today,
It might be.
and he's like you said, he's forming sentences.
It might
whereas
be.
These guys are
Nah,
not.
man.
Everything is drip and drown and PPP.
No, it's not.
Can you say that objectively?
It's not dated.
Can
You
say
know
that
why I say
objectively?
this question as well, you're on social media. This like when people are going back and forth. I know we're changing the topic a little bit, but when people are going back and forth with who will win hits for hits, Future or Jay, there was kids that were arguing that. My point being, Jay's dated to the people that were raised in a certain era. So the same way we look at the 80s, people naturally are going to look at it like. So is it a case of the 80s or is it a case where that's where just rap goes?
I think that's just where rap goes.
I don't know.
I think you're always going to have a generation that I think the generation before them don't sound as fresh.
They're old heads.
Yeah. It goes back to Lil Xan calling Tupac boring. Don't get triggered.
Lil Xan.
But it goes back to that. It really just depends. But I think it is a cyclical thing. It's a cyclical thing. 90s people were saying that about the 80s. 2000s people, I'm sure, were saying that about the 90s, and so on and so on and so on. It's just the way of life, really. It's up to the artists to either adapt or keep it moving. And I feel like fans might have a bit of a responsibility to be more open-minded as well. In the tiniest of sense. Obviously, if you think something's dated, like think it's dated, and I'm not going to say that you should not. But if there is a rapper from a certain era that you're listening to, whether it's by accident or whatever, take time. Take time. Listen to what they're saying. If you don't like it, then cool.
I think there's a difference between calling like the Biggies and the Tupacs like dated versus calling like the Busta Rhymes and the Jay-Z's and the Nas's dated.
You can't call Tupac.
I think it's very different because like Jay-Z, Nas, Busta, them guys transitioned and were able to make music of the time, but timeless as well. So it's difficult to kind of paint them with that brush of, for me, sounding dated, man. I can't. Whereas Tupac and Biggie, I get it because of the era where them guys were like most popular and the era where they stopped making music and had passed away. We've only got the music that they made in the 90s. We don't know how they would have sounded in the 2000s. I think we get a glimpse of it with Biggie because of the sound that Puff ended up running with later on. But I think it's just difficult when you look at those two versus like Jay's and Nas and Busta Rhymes.
Your timeless is not someone else's timeless, bro. I think that's it. Like your perception of what is going to stand the test of time and what is dated is not this, might not be the same as Mo's, might not be the same as mine. I might think that, let's say for example, the Blueprint is dated. It's possible. Like some people might think My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is dated.
See, remember the pep talk I gave you guys before this podcast when I was like, this is a new, improved me, less judgmental. See, the old me would have said, you're bonkers if you would say that the Blueprint sounded dated. But the new me is going to accept you for your opinion and say that my heart is still open.
Shout out to my Africans.
But the old you did just come out and say that I'm bonkers.
No, I said that's what the old me would have said.
But the old you have
the new me's relaying what the old me would have said, but the new me is not saying that.
The old you didn't need to come out.
No, but the new me still has to sometimes let you know what the old me's thinking.
No, they don't.
No, it definitely does.
No, it doesn't.
Just to let you know that the old me is not that far away.
This is more for the listeners than me, to be fair. So thank you for that. But yeah, more of the story.
Everyone sounds dated to people's opinions, I guess, because you're always going to have people that think people sound dated. It's just we can't control it. I just think we've got accustomed to listening to Jay and Nas for so long that they will never sound dated to us. But I think if you get a 15-year-old kid, a 16-year-old kid from the road and get him to play Jay for him, I genuinely think a 15, 16-year-old kid will be like, yo, he sounds old as fuck.
There's no one reason for this. I feel like there's a multitude of reasons as to why 80s rappers especially might not have been, accepted in the 90s for whatever reason. I just think a lot of things work in tandem. There isn't one reason. But salute to those people. Salute
And rappers,
they're the foundation. They're the foundation.
They're Mount Rushmores.
Yeah, to some people. Yeah, some people. And if we're talking objectively, a couple of them might be.
They have to be. If you've created...
the 80s?
Like one or two of them have to kind of be Mount Rushmore. Not have to, but like, if you want to pay your dues.
I'm good.
If we're being...
You don't necessarily...
No, taking away your biasness though. Like you just have to...
Bro, I'm taking away my biases. I can salute you. I don't have to put
you on your head.
Absolutely not. Respect to them guys.
Unless you were a fan in the 80s.
Respect to them guys.
See, he doesn't even want to hear that.
Respect to them guys, but yeah, I'm sorry, man.
So you can't put 80s person in your Mount Rushmore. You think it's blasphemy?
No, absolutely not. I'm just not doing that.
I was just trying to rule you.
You're trying to draw me out. I told you I'm new and improved, man.
New and improved.
Hey, man.
But yeah, right. What's the next thing?
So we're kind of gonna flip reverse it because Mo wanted to chat about Roddy Ricch, right?
Yeah. So
explain away, bro.
I know Peter. I'm not gonna have to explain to Peter. I feel like Yemi already knows what's going on.
I'm in these streets.
Yeah, I feel like Yemi knows what's going on. P might not be. So P, you clearly know. You knew the hype about Roddy. Like,
no, I didn't know the hype. Explain it to me. Genuine.
Right. Yemi, would you disagree with me? There was hype over Roddy. His first album dropped. It charted. It went successful. He was kind of seen as one of the leaders of the new school, essentially.
You put him in your Mount Rushmore of this era, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, Roddy Ricch.
Yeah, he was in my top 5, top 4 for this era easily. By the way, easily. But then he dropped his last album.
When did it drop?
Late last year.
Like about a month ago.
Okay.
About a month.
Yeah, I think it might have been leading up to Christmas.
Yeah, so it's about a month ago or some change.
Okay.
Hot garbage.
Mm-hmm.
But
wait. You thought it was hot garbage?
I thought it was mid at best.
What
Live life fast.
Yeah.
What was the general consensus?
The general consensus was hot garbage.
Hot garbage or mid?
No. Hot. People,
really?
People
so
trash
what?
Okay,
so were fans saying that or were like critics?
No, critically, like this is not it.
Okay.
Like he critically, this was from everyone, from like say academics, for example.
Yeah.
Academics said it's whack. And I don't even listen to academics.
What about magazines and stuff?
A lot of people said it was critically follow up from his last album was a big fall off.
Oh wow.
Because it's the judging of the last album. Because the last album had the box. It had the ball-in song as one of the bonuses. So he had a lot.
Okay.
So my point being, so he dropped that album and he's been already kind of like dismissed as he can't bring it back. He can't do anything. And I feel like that's a thing with this generation where if you don't follow up a good album with a good album, you're essentially wiped off the map, or like, yeah, he's done. Whereas we used to give artists time. Like we've had artists that's dropped 2 albums in a row that was bad, but the third one was that's it. And I was wondering why the transitions happen, and like just have a conversation based around that, because
So basically, are the younger generation given enough time?
yeah, like is it more ruthless now compared to when we was growing up? Because Jay dropped Best of Both Worlds and we still gave him time.
But that's different because he had given us.
That was very different.
Yeah,
Why did you do that? That was so unnecessary.
No, but like he did give us Best of Both Worlds.
It had a couple tunes on there.
Don't do that.
It definitely did.
I hated it.
Yeah, but you're not Jiggy.
What does that even mean?
You're not Jiggy, so you won't enjoy it.
You ain't P.
I'm a Jiggy brother, so I will. You know what I mean?
My point being,
You're right.
Yeah.
But there was still a couple tunes.
but my point, yeah, I just feel like, is it like there's something about this era and this generation where I feel like they're not getting the time that our artists got.
I just feel like we live in the era of instant gratification. If you don't have, and especially with artists like that, Roddy Ricch, the Gunners and that, they make vibey music. If they don't then make music that people see as a vibe from front to back, you're trash, you're whatever, you're this, that. People are so quick, and everyone's quick to have an opinion as well, especially in the social media era where, you know, as soon as something drops, you want to be the first person to talk about it. You might want to cause some controversy by saying it's crap. You might want to say it's amazing, I'm a fan, blah, 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 blah. But I just feel like we're so, well, maybe not us, but certain generations of fans are very hard to please in that respect. They think that because Roddy Ricch dropped the box, his next album should then be 12 the boxes.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't run like that. So I think generally fans' expectations have changed or heightened to the point where you can drop something that might be decent, and even if it's not good, people are very, very even quicker now to say, yo, this is crap, this is trash, this is garbage, blah, 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 blah. So I feel like it's that. But to be fair, I have heard that it was trash as well. I saw Sean C, who's like a YouTube reviewer, say that it was hot garbage.
No, it was bad. It was bad.
So maybe he just dropped a bad album, but I don't think we can say like he's out of here. I think that's just a language. We use a lot of language in hip hop to that effect. Yeah. He's out of here. He's done. When really and truly, he's probably going to drop another album this year or next in response to the criticism that he's gotten. It's like Eminem when he dropped Revival, and then what? Like
I think Eminem's different though.
6 to 9 months later, he dropped Kamikaze.
But Eminem's different.
How so?
And I don't want to make it about Eminem, but he's had 6 bad albums in a row where people are always going to wait for the 7th. That's just who Eminem is. That's just...
We're not doing that.
No, not disrespect, but that's Eminem. I don't think Eminem... The reason why I say that is because he dropped... Whatever he dropped past 2003, Bar Recovery was all garbage to me. So it's like... But people are always going to wait on his albums. Whereas these newer generations or anyone else, I feel like the time is ticking a lot quicker than our artists. Do you know what I mean? Because J. Cole dropped Cold War. It wasn't all that, but the hype was there for his next one. Or let's see what he does when he's got freedom. I feel like with this generation, it's like you said, instant gratification. If you don't drop something worthwhile.
No, but I think with that though, Cole, it's difficult to compare the two, innit? Because Cole had still given us like, up until that point, a catalogue of good material. So we knew what the potential was and we knew what he was capable of doing. With Roddy, there's not been enough time, space, and material for that sort of judgment, innit? And like just echoing what Yemi said, yeah, man, we live in like a very microwavable time with very instant gratification and that. So there's just not enough room for like, you know, artist development. There's not enough room for artists to make like bad music.
But that's sustainable though.
Huh?
Can that run?
Do
you know what I mean?
I don't think so. I think just because he dropped a bad album don't mean his next one's going to be bad. You know what I mean? People grow, people make music in different points of their life, more inspired than not. Do you know what I mean? Reflection on, you know, whatever he's dealing with in life as well. So that shouldn't, and I don't listen to Roddy Ricch, but it shouldn't be an indication of his whole talent. Just because he drops a bad album, that should be an indication of his whole talent and whether he's capable of making like better music.
Which I agree.
I also think it depends on the artist. If someone like Corday was to drop a good album, then drop a bad album, I'm not sure if the fan base would be so quick to say he's trash, he's out of here, he's done. Whereas with Roddy Ricch, I think it's because of the type of music he makes. People who make that type of music have a fan base to that effect. And again, if they don't make something that's vibey that they can, party to and all that, you're written off. And to be honest, even if certain sections of the fan base say that it's crap, there's still going to be loads that stream it. That's still going to help his bottom line. He's still going to be able to tour and perform. So is he really not given enough time, or is this generation really not given enough time?
Yeah, because where's the time for growth? I think
that's up to them though. Like, if they drop an album that's bad, they can go back to the drawing board and just, especially someone like Roddy, who's like you say, he's one of the leaders of the new school. I'm not sure if he doesn't have the time to grow. I just think it's because of the fan backlash. But he could easily, regroup, do it again, get some hot producers, go a different route, and maybe win those fans back.
I think also, sorry, I don't know if I cut.
No, go.
But I think it also speaks to the come up as well, because from my perspective, it feels like he just kind of came up out of nowhere. There wasn't any real artist development. I just saw him on like tunes with Nipsey. Do you know what I mean? So he was he just came out of nowhere. So with as quickly as you kind of like pop, you very quickly can be smacked straight back down. So I think it's I don't think it's that wild that people are already kind of like dismissing him and calling whether he can make another good album, because like he just came out of nowhere.
He came up off a Die Young, right?
Nah, that's what I'm saying. Die Young was his first commercial song.
What year was it?
But that's when he blew.
Die Young came out, I'm gonna say 2017.
So when did his album drop?
This album, or his first album?
His first album. 2019.
2020. But that's one point. He was even the Nipsey song. That was way after Die Young. That was way after his mixtape Feed the Streets. That was after a lot of stuff. And then he had the Nipsey song. Then he had the Mustard song and all of that. So he was bubbling for a while. Like, he still had about 5 years before this. About 4 or 5 years before this album dropped. So it's just.
Had he had mixtapes or EPs?
Yeah, he had 3 picks. He's got one of my mixtapes that I like is Feed the Streets too.
There's a difference.
He's got a few bangers.
Yeah, there's a difference though when it comes to artist development. There's a difference between putting a bunch of songs out and your name getting more buzz on the streets and actually developing your artistic skill. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I wrote about this for Trench in relation to UK rap. Like, I feel like in this era where you can get viral off of one hit and then get signed, there's no grind. J. Cole dropped multiple mixtapes. Kendrick dropped multiple mixtapes. That's the grind. That's the artistic journey starting. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know about Roddy Ricch. I know about the Feed the Streets series and all that as well, but I don't know if in comparison to other artists, he's had that same journey of artistic development. And when you come up off a song like Die Young, which went viral, which is a club hit, this, that, and the other, you generate a fan base, a new fan base, not day ones, of fans that expect that from you every time. And those are the loudest people when that doesn't happen.
You're right, because if you look at a Corday, it is the complete opposite, I guess, in terms of the way Corday's fan bases work and the way Roddy's is.
Yeah.
Because if Corday does drop out a bad album, he's got the same light like a Cole might have of our generation or a Kendrick or someone, where it's like, yeah, give them one more.
Yeah. I think this lies solely at the feet of the fans. I think you can drop a bad album. Obviously, Roddy's dropped a bad album, but when the expectations are so high from a commercial artist who isn't really moving the needle in terms of any kind of content or anything like that, it's just more or less an update of what the last album would have been, I'm sure. The expectation's so high, and when it doesn't get met, people are so quick to just like turn on you. Like, that's just the way it is, and that's kind of like the double-edged sword of being like a famous rapper, and that like people hold on to people are always waiting for you to fail, innit? And whenever they feel like you have, they give it to you. But I don't think like Roddy is going to really suffer. I don't think the younger generation, it really just depends, man. Like, it could go the way of like, let's say, I don't know, a Trinidad James who had his big hit. The only reason why I mentioned him is I was watching the video today and I mentioned him. Someone who dropped a really big hit and couldn't capitalize on it artistically, compared to a Roddy Ricch who clearly is dropping albums regularly and he's building up his status as like one of the leaders in the new school. So I think it just depends on the artist, but I feel like the fans have a lot to answer for.
Yeah, I agree. Because, someone like Trinidad James was never, we knew what it was with him.
Yeah, well said.
Don't believe me, just watch.
I think you echoed everything perfectly just then.
Thank you. And even with Trinidad James, like, his next move was always going to be the biggest move.
Yeah.
And he just couldn't do it. Fetty Wap as well. Fetty Wap dropped My Trap Queen, My Way.
He said
and then
691.
679.
Yeah.
And then he dropped the album, and that's one of the worst albums I've ever heard in my life, even to this day. On the Deontay Wilder flex. You know what I'm saying? So it really just does depend on who it is. And I wasn't even a fan of Fetty Wap like that. I was just interested to see, like, this is the new sensation in rap. Let me see what he's on.
Yeah,
and he just wasn't on anything.
Is Roddy Ricch an album artist though?
His first album was good, but
That wasn't my question.
no, I don't think he's an album artist.
Okay.
But
So why are we so surprised that what's happening then?
because it's the backlash he's getting. Because
But if he's not an album artist, then why are we surprised?
when you say album artist, what do you mean? Like, as in,
An album artist.
no, I don't think he is. But he's not to me. But people still look at him.
You're a good judge though.
Yeah, but people look at him for his album. Like, his first album had about 6-7 hits. So it's a tricky one to decipher. If your first album's got about 5-6 hits, and that's your only album you've got, and then your mixtape has,
Doesn't necessarily make him an album artist.
I don't think he's an
But
album
it's
artist.
hard to classify mainstream
Yeah.
rappers, quote unquote, as album artists because their bottom line is the hits and they're rapping 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 B-sides, if we're being real, around a hit. That's not an album compared to like a Damn or
Who you thinking?
an Off Season. What do you mean?
Who you thinking about?
Well,
As far as what?
Hits, B-sides, B-sides, B-sides.
Most of the new generation.
that's all of them.
Give me a name.
Gunna,
Future.
Okay.
Future, Thug,
Okay.
All of them are like that. So I don't think any of them are album artists per se. It's just,
aka Zingin Peter don't listen to.
yeah, but no one looks at them for albums, whereas, so they don't get a back. Like, if Gunna's album was whack, I don't think the backlash will be there for him. Surprisingly. Whereas with Roddy, for some, I don't know why, I just feel like the scrutiny was a lot with him. So I don't know if it's a new generation.
I guess expectations were really high for him, innit? It is what it is, innit?
Yeah.
What can you do, man?
Yeah, I hear that. But again, I don't think Roddy Ricch is going to be losing sleep.
Nah.
He's still going to be dropping albums. And the expectation's always going to be there. But he doesn't have to meet fans' expectation if he's doing what he feels is right.
His next move's vital, though. We agree on that.
I feel like we could say that about a lot of rappers, man.
True.
Is that fair? That it becomes vital?
No, that's what I'm saying. It's not to me. I'm just talking about the way, that's what the whole topic is, the new generation. I think his next move is a little bit key. Because it's a microwave sensation. It's a microwave society we live in now. It's very much cool. Where's the next toy? That's very much the era they live in now.
Because he's so early on in his career as well. It's definitely a bit techie for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So just to close it off completely, if his next move is a bad move, does that say to you he was just a flash in the pan?
Nah. I think he's always going to be around whether it's hits. He's just not the guy that the expectation was
People
for.
thought he was.
He's always going to be around. I don't think Roddy's going to leave. I think he'll be able to provide a banger a year or something like that. But if his next move isn't what it's meant to be, I don't think he's... You know how we looked at... When you look at artists like, yeah, you're the leader of the new gen to a certain degree. Maybe not.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So, see, that's a Mo flex right there. So what? Roddy Ricch was like seen as that guy.
For the
Not
new school,
really. I feel like because he had Die Young and he had the box, he was seen as like one of the leaders. Not the leader.
not the leader.
But one of the leaders of that generation. Don't look at me like that, innit? But he was seen as that guy. And I still think he still will. But we shall see, innit?
All right, cool.
We shall see.
Can I just ask why?
Why did I ask?
No, why'd you make that face when you asked the question?
No reason. No reason, man.
No, but you know what is with Pete?
Go on.
He hates the new generation already. And this is what annoys me about Pete. And I'm going to tell you what annoys me, Yemi. He hates the new gen already. And then he hates the fact that Roddy is one of the new gen leaders. It's like you already hate them. So if I give you any artist, you're going to look down on it anyway.
That's just not true, Mohammed.
Right.
That's just not true.
I can't wait till they start seeing your faces when you start asking these questions.
It's just not true, Mohammed.
All right, well, salute to Roddy Ricch. Cool. We're going to move on to the next topic now. And I want to talk a bit about another guy who, much like Roddy Ricch, was kind of seen as like, at the time, it was around 2014, 2015 times, he was kind of seen as like the leader of a new generation.
Was he?
I feel like he was. He had arguably one of, if not the most impactful single of the 2010s. We're talking about Bobby Schmurda. Bobby Schmurda, when he came out of Hot in 2014,
So we're really not saying the N-word anymore.
Nah,
apparently.
man. No, man. We shouldn't be saying it, bro.
apparently.
Shouldn't be saying it.
So when he came out with that song in 2014, I mean, I don't need to say how impactful that was. Like, it was just like it was a whirlwind of like, we're still waiting for his hat to drop down from space, sort of thing. You know what I mean? It was that big of a single, and then he got locked up. Then he went to prison. Apart from a 6ix9ine feature, we didn't really hear much from him from prison as far as the music.
A 6ix9ine feature.
He was on Stupid on 6ix9ine's first album.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Before he
He was just rapping from the cell phone, the phone in jail. It was just... Anyway, less said about that, the better. He's now out. He's been out since, I want to say, mid-2021.
Yeah.
Something like that, or early 2021. And obviously expectations were high because he hadn't been dropping music. Obviously, people were still listening to his breakout single. And I think it's fair to say that his comeback and the kind of music he's dropped has been lukewarm at best. I feel like a lot of the potential that he could have had coming out as far as what he could do and how he could impact the game has kind of fallen by the wayside. It's kind of been left on the table. So kind of like the Roddy Ricch discussion we've just been having, I kind of want to pitch the question, like, is Bobby Schmurda on the clock? And is his comeback one of the worst that hip hop has ever seen?
No,
I'm not surprised.
He's not on the clock, man. He hasn't really dropped music like that.
But
Well, the reason why I ask is because I feel like hip hop fans, not us, but a lot of hip hop fans have gotten used to the idea of once you are out of jail, you go gung ho, which is what he hasn't done.
Bro, we haven't seen that in a very long time.
Bro, we saw it with Gucci. We saw it with Wayne, didn't we? Dropped a mixtape when he came out.
But look at the artist you're naming.
Yeah, but still,
I
bro.
don't even think...
Listen, I'm not... let me finish. I'm not necessarily, like, agreeing with these views, but I feel like certain fans have gotten used to the idea of once a rapper's out of jail, they're going to hit the ground running, they're going to drop, and they're kind of they're gonna try and retain the essence of what they were before they went into jail, which I feel like a lot of people feel like Bobby Schmurda hasn't done. And if you listen to his recent singles, compared to Hot, they aren't really, they're nowhere near as good. And I feel like when you're talking about like views and when you're talking about attention, they're very much like decreasing when it comes to Bobby Schmurda. So that's why I'm asking, as interest in him is kind of falling, is he on the clock?
But why? What's the precedent for us saying that Bobby Schmurda knows how to make good music just based on one song? Just out of curiosity, because he dropped another one. He dropped another one while he was out. I mean, before he got arrested. Bobby Bitch. And that was whack. So my point being, Hot was a flash in the pan, right? Like, that's a song where that wasn't, how can I put it? That was the biggest song of that year. Arguably the biggest song of the decade. We know he's not that guy in terms of he can't replicate that. So what was people expecting from? I'm not surprised that he can't. No disrespect to him. I'm happy he's free. He done his bird. I'm happy. But I didn't think Bobby's going to come out and give me 5 or 6 hits after hits after hits.
I don't think we do know that he can't do another Hot. We don't know that.
Exactly.
Because like the reason why people are holding on to like hope and there's a bit of buzz and there's like, you know, just anticipation is because of that song. We've seen what the potential may be.
But is that fair?
There's something there.
But look what we're expecting though, bro. We're expecting arguably the biggest song of that decade.
I think
I don't think we are though. I just think they're expecting like really good music. And do you know who started that though? That whole coming out of prison and just killing stuff. Tupac Shakur. And since then, every rapper that goes into jail is held by that same standard.
But there's a difference,
but
though.
not every rapper is going to do that.
And there's a big difference.
Even when Lil Wayne, as amazing as Lil Wayne is, when he came out of prison, he wasn't like, do you know what I mean? He wasn't what he was before he went in, because by that point he wasn't sizzling the same anyway.
But you know what the difference is? I feel like because obviously he dropped Bobby Bitch, but off the strength of the other song, people were expecting that, or to that level. You know what I mean? If you listen to his new music,
yeah, and I've tried to give it a minute, I can't.
In comparison to that song, which is kind of like more drill focused, it was kind of early drill and that sort of thing. The new songs, you can barely understand what he's talking about. You can barely understand what he's saying. It's kind of more polished. I feel like people wanted more of the like gritty, I want to tell you, like, we want to know that you're suffering, you're hungry sort of thing. Meanwhile, he's just bragging about his AP. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like he's taken a completely opposite turn, and I feel like there's mitigating factors. I feel like he's at odds with his. I was watching a video on Hip Hop Madness about this, and they were alluding to tension between Bobby Schmurda and the label, which is kind of holding up whatever music we would have planned to release when he came out of prison. So maybe there's that. But generally, the music that he's dropped since he's come out is nothing like his first single.
But so my thing is, and this ain't me taking away from him, but the only reason why I say if he was never on a clock for me in terms of music is because if you look at all the artists that went jail previously, Puck, he had somewhat of a catalog before he went prison. You get Wayne, he had a catalog before he went prison. Gucci, he had a catalog before. So we knew what we was getting from these artists when they come out, or at least some sort of expectations. Bobby's whole thing was based on one song. Do you get what I mean? So it's like when he does come out, I can't expect, like, say if Jay Quan went prison after he dropped Tipsy. No, like, think about it. He dropped Tipsy, he goes jail. 7 years, he comes out.
Yeah, but Mo,
I'm not expecting him to drop.
Yeah, but Mo, you have to also factor in that there are other elements of this story as well that we have to look at.
He can't talk about certain things.
No, not even that, but like just the fact that he went inside, he was honourable. Do you know what I mean? And we praise that in our culture.
Yes,
in hip-hop culture. Yeah, but that's also a part of the buzz. Somebody that's honourable, somebody that gave us this tune before they went in. There's something there. They're gonna come out and do amazing stuff. So there's a lot of that as well, aside from the actual talent. And I think that's probably got more to do with what the buzz.
No, that's what it is. That's it's more what he done than his music.
Bro, when Shine went into prison, there was like, oh my God, like, do you know what I mean? Because he was honourable as well. There's just something that our culture like loves about honourable people becoming incarcerated and coming out and hoping that they bust through. Yeah. But when Shine came out, it was awful. His flow had gone, his voice had gone. It was absolutely awful. And after he drops like a few songs, the buzz had gone.
And DJ Academics kind of rounded up what you were saying as well. I feel like now that Schmurda's out, people are being around him as kind of like a badge of honor to kind of 100%. prove their grittiness and to prove their hardness as well. And that's not helping Schmurda. That's just, you're sapping from him, you're taking from him, sort of thing. And I think to your point, Mo, about, you know, those other rappers having catalogs, bro, that his first single, it was so big, it basically counts as a body of work.
1000%. I'm just saying, to me, with Bobby, it's more what he done. He was a stand-up man. You got Rowdy came out the same time as you. He didn't do a longer sentence because you said you'll go halves with him. All of that. To me, it was more him coming out as, let's celebrate Bobby, than me waiting for him to drop. I had zero expectation for his music. Like zero. Because to me, it's so hard to replicate what that song was. And it's not fair. If that's the only song you dropped before you went prison, people are naturally going to hold you to that level. And that's just not fair.
But it goes back to the Roddy Ricch situation as well. Like facts. The high expectations, you know,
so imagine
wave culture. Yeah. That kind of works in tandem as well. Because everybody, even if you weren't outside in 2014, you've heard about Schmurda, you know he's dropped his big single. Now that he's out, I need to see, if not a replication, I need to see where you're at.
Just something.
Generally. And if where he's at is the music that he's putting out, then it's a disappointment. It's naturally going to be a disappointment because the music is bad.
But give him some time, man. This guy was locked up for X amount of years, man. It takes a while to find your rhythm, man. Not everybody's Tupac Shakur. You know what I mean? Not everyone's Lil Wayne.
No, he just wanted to say
and you know what it is? He's turning into the game who name drops all the time, but it's just Tupac.
He didn't want to say Wayne. He literally just said that whole sentence, just say Tupac. Wayne was just like, let me just style it out.
I said Gucci. Yeah. I said Wayne. T.I.
Yo, he just said Wayne just so at the end of it. Let me
not say Tupac. Fibbing, pot of paper, Digger D.
My point being, like, yeah, I just didn't have any expectations for Bobby's music. Yeah. Like, I love Bobby as a man. Salute to him. Just musically wise, I personally didn't have any expectations just because, especially the culture we're in now, I didn't know if they were going to allow him to unless he drops that. And the problem is with Hot Nick, it was more, the song was a banger, but it was also the time that we was in that made it what it was. And it's so hard to replicate. A song like that is so hard to replicate. And unless he does that,
unless you're
people.
Young,
what do you say?
Unless you're young, MA.
Yeah, she robbed him. But that's my point. Unless she could, if that's his level and what people are expecting, it's just not fair.
I think he's just a victim of the culture.
Yeah.
In that respect. Like, obviously he went pen, he's come out. You're now expected to, everything you do has to hit. And it just doesn't work like that. Like for any artist, like it doesn't work like that. You're gonna have like misses. Where I would have liked to have seen like more progression from his side is to just kind of talk about what it was like for you in jail, you know, the kind of struggles you've been through, not to then just kind of assimilate with everybody else that's rapping about that.
But can you do that though?
Well, I mean, but we don't know that that's not going to come on the album.
Cool, but I would have liked it a little bit.
But why though? Like, what gave you the impression that he'll do that?
Nothing, but well, not nothing. The fact that he's been in pen.
Yeah, but like musically,
Why wouldn't he do that?
no, my point, no, because my point being,
So you guys will
no.
say, "Oh, I just want to bring up Tupac." But fam,
I'm gonna tell you why.
But you
Like,
are going to.
but
yeah, because it's relevant.
Yeah,
But
but-
Pac, what was Pac rapping about?
that's my point though. It's the artist we're talking about. If Future goes pen now, I don't think Future's gonna come out and give me a speech of what life was like in jail, because I know what kind of artist he is. I don't expect Bobby. I did not expect him to come and tell me I was 7-8 hours I was doing. Do you know what I mean? It's just the type of songs he makes is Bobby, bitch. Like, I didn't expect him to come and write me at 32 that he's gonna make me think, raw, he was sitting through all of that in.
No, you don't.
So if that's the expectation, I don't think he's ever gonna live it to it. And then if the expectation is, I think he's in an awkward situation of what he's got to please so many people that he doesn't even know what he needs.
I think Yemi's speaking to more like the substance side of it, because when you do become incarcerated, you have way more to talk about than just the standard shit that's going on in the music industry.
Facts.
That's what I think that's what he's speaking to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But I mean, I'm not a Bobby fan, but like, I'm sure actually I can't even say I'm sure. Fans would hope that when the album drops that he'll have a lot more to say. So let's wait and see.
So to answer the question, you don't think he's on the clock?
Nah, not until the album's dropped.
I think Bobby will always be around for a little while just because of what he done. Like you said, the way we celebrate what he done for Roddy and his peoples, I don't think he'll be on the clock in terms of the culture. To the fans, maybe, but to the hip hop heads, he's always going to be respected because he stood up for what you're meant to stand up for, essentially.
Yeah, but
however, if he doesn't drop an album for me in the next 2 years, and there isn't a single that he drops that buzzes a little bit within the next 2 years, it's gonna get a bit shaky.
give him 2 years.
Within.
So by the end of next year.
Yeah, it's gonna be a bit. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'd say that.
I mean, I'd probably say there's more pressure on him than, obviously we've talked about him, Roddy Ricch.
Yeah, but that's because Roddy's given us past. And unfortunately for Bobby's situation, he hasn't. That's why I think there's more time. There's the clock's on Bobby more.
Potentially. But also because of what he's dropped hasn't been it. And not just from you need to talk about your time in prison. The songs just aren't good. Like, you can have songs about, you know, the kind of stuff that he's rapping about, like all the blingy stuff. But if it's worse than what the next man is doing, it's not good, is it? So, I don't know. I mean, to answer my own question, is he on the clock? Yes and no. I feel like to certain sections, he probably is, because he's losing all the, not clout, but he's losing all the kind of room that he had since he's been out to kind of impact the culture in a meaningful way. And because of that, you're seeing interest kind of dim and diminish. So in that way, he is, but also no, because he's also only been out not very long. Let's see what he's got to drop and what is coming as well. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. Maybe he'll prove everybody wrong as well. So I'm kind of halfway with it.
It's a tricky one, man. I don't know musically if Bobby's ever going to be there for me. That just on some fan level thing. So, but I hope he does it. I hope he delivers. I'm rooting for him.
Yeah, I'm rooting for him too, just because of what he's been through.
Yeah, like I'm definitely. He's young. He's 27. He spent 21 to 26 in jail. 20 to 26 in jail.
Yeah, it's mad.
That's a long time. That's a very long time.
A lot to talk about. You hope?
Some people just don't have the capabilities.
Nah, I think he does.
You've never heard of Hot 32 from Bobby in your life.
The first single.
That wasn't bars though. That was more.
It was hot though.
It definitely was hot.
There you go. It's literally called Hot. So, you know, salute to Bobby Schmurda,
That's
man.
a flash in the pan. No,
It wasn't a flash in the pan.
To me, them kind of singles, they are flashing. Like Young and May, was a flash in the pan for me. There's certain singles that are just flash in the pan.
It's only a flash in the pan if you then can't build on it. And obviously, Schmurda hasn't had the chance to.
Unfortunately, yeah, of course.
Whereas Young M.A., you could argue, has. Because she's still making music. She dropped a good album in 2020, 2019. So, it just depends on how you're looking at it.
Yeah.
But salute to Schmurda.
We're rooting for you.
Good luck to you. We're rooting for you. And yeah, man. Looking forward to seeing what happens. So, we're now going to move on to the fun topic for
You
today.
man really got me talking about Roddy Ricch and Bobby Schmurda on a Saturday night.
Yes.
I genuinely think that was good though.
Huh?
I think it was a good
That was
conversation.
great, but you guys have just got me doing something that I wouldn't usually want to do.
You man got me sitting talking about 80s, bro. Respectfully. It works both ways, bro. You think I listen? No disrespect. I love you, man. Not to listening to none of these.
We out here talking about art school, girlfriend, the most Peter artist ever.
The way he looks down at us.
chatting.
You man got me looking talk about Roddy and but you got me talking about no disrespect to any of them. Don't care, bro. They all sound dating. You know what? Let me stop on a rant.
Relax.
I said, go away.
Relax.
Fam. We're playing basketball.
Relax.
Don't sleep on 80s music, man.
Nah, I'm sleeping. I'm in a coma.
Don't sleep on 80s.
Well, I'm in a coma, fam.
All right. Well, we're going to move on to the fun topic of today, the last topic for this episode. So, we have been mandated by Peter to pick a rapper from the 80s, because obviously, in theme, and partner them with a producer from a different era that we feel would be a good match for that rapper. So, Peter, want to go first?
Yeah, sure.
How many have you got out of curiosity?
I've got 3, but I wasn't.
I knew you would.
I wasn't going to say them all.
I've got
I
2.
just didn't know what you guys had. So
Say all 3.
I just had backup. I've got Big Daddy Kane as the rapper, and the producers were Puff Daddy and Hitman.
Okay.
I think that would have been a great marriage. Just considering what we said earlier about Kane being slightly too early with marrying hip hop and R&B, I just think, yeah, it would have been dope. I've also got Cool G rapper Rock Marciano. I just think Rock Marciano, for the type of way that Cool G raps and what he raps about, I just think like Rock Marciano's production would just be perfect for him. And then my last one is Slick Rick and the RZA. I think based on Ghostface is one of my favorite rappers and storytellers, and I think he gets a lot of his style from Slick Rick, and I just feel like, the backdrops that RZA gave Ghost, I think he could do the same for Slick Rick and just have Slick Rick telling some like amazingly dope stories. So yeah, that's my 3.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Fair enough. 2 of them are... I've got similar rappers for 2 of them, but I'll just go.
What's your 2?
So mine is, I got Big Daddy Kane, and I got him linked up with Hit Boy, actually. I feel like Hit Boy is in the run of his life, and he could make a beat for literally anybody. And I feel like Big Daddy Kane could either slow his flow down or not even need to. Hit Boy will meet the demand, and they will make an absolute banger.
Put a quarter in your ass because you played yourself.
Sorry.
Over a beat like Speechless. That'd be amazing. That would be amazing.
That caught me out of nowhere, man. Sorry.
Only he would know Big Daddy Kane lyrics off head.
When I tell you caught me out of nowhere,
I don't know why I know that.
That was nasty.
I know why you know
Yo,
that.
that was nasty.
Because you're old. Anyway.
Pardon me, because I'm fucking sick with it.
See, that was a COVID bar.
Yeah, pretty much. But
I think he might have been the first one to use a sick with it bar though.
Potentially.
Yeah, I think he might have been one of the first ones.
I feel like 8.5 Step In is probably like performance wise. We probably rappers probably take a lot more from that than they might know. Because 8.5 Step In is probably up there with like best rap performances of all time. So top 20, I'd say.
That's a conversation.
I was just about to say that. That's definitely.
We should definitely make that list one day.
Rap performances.
Yeah.
Jot that down.
Huh?
Jot it down.
Yeah.
Jot it down. Cool. And then my next one, I've also got Slick Rick. And I've got him paired with Madlib.
That would be nice.
That would be nice. We had a little taster with that on Mos Def's song Auditorium. And I feel like Madlib is an absolute chameleon that could give Slick Rick what he needs to put the fire in his belly to make a first album since 1999. So yeah, I feel like that would be amazing. I feel like they would meet each other. And here's the thing, like Slick Rick was rapping over like Indian beats with Mos Def. He could easily rap on anything, like a jazz beat, maybe one of the African joints that Madlib has done, maybe some of the more like rappity rap ones. it's limitless, really, what they can do. So I'd love to hear that. I'm going to start a petition to make that happen.
I was trying to think of a UK producer for Slick Rick when we were talking about this, and I couldn't think of anyone. But I was genuinely racking my brain trying to think what UK producer was Slick Rick, because I was trying to pair him with a UK producer and see if that works. But I couldn't. My mind was scrambled.
Beat Butcher, potentially. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Beat Butcher might have produced the song, or had a hand in producing some of the songs that Slick Rick did with West Side Gun.
Oh, fair enough.
Potentially. But I feel like Beat Butcher could be a good shout. Like, from a modern perspective.
When this topic came up, we were talking about rappers in their prime, right? And you give them a producer in their prime. What we talking about today? Because I had Rakim and Hit Boy.
Entirely up to you.
So I had Rakim and Hit Boy.
Okay.
And the reason why is because everything that I've seen Hit Boy do with Nas, I think he can replicate that with any lyricist, depending on who you give him. Do you know what I mean? I think if you give Hit Boy a rapper, he can work his magic, and it will just work. So that's why I paired them two, because I was thinking, just based on lyricism, who's a rapper's rapper, and if you give him Hit Boy, it would work. So I had Rakim and Hit Boy, and I think that'll be an everlasting marriage.
It would be.
Did you pick Hit Boy for Rakim because of Nas?
Yeah.
And the similarities between Rakim and Nas?
No similarities, a little bit, but mainly because Nas is a rapper and he's had issues trying to find a producer, and Hit Boy worked around him. I thought he could do the same for Rakim. Do you get what I mean? So I thought, and plus he's fruit off Rakim's tree, so I thought it would work as well.
Yeah, it would definitely work. I'd love to hear that too.
Yeah, I thought that them two would have been dope together.
What about like Chubb Rock and Houdini and like
Chubb Rock could be
only this podcast will say, you know what?
Chubb Rock could be on a primo beat, I feel like.
You reckon?
Yeah.
What about Diddy and Slick Rick?
Nah. What about like Beastie Boys?
And Eminem?
No, I feel like Beastie Boys. I feel like RZA could nice them. Because RZA lives in that kind of world where he kind of he can pivot from like rap to rap rock and all that. So I feel like he could nice the Beasties.
What about Naughty by Nature?
They're not 80s.
They're not 80s, but I'm just saying Naughty by Nature because it's singing groups.
J5 on the Afrobeat flex.
What about Salt and Pepper?
Salt and Pepper. Ooh.
Toki Monster.
I've got something for you. Yeah.
Random shit, but yeah, fine.
You have to give Dre an 80s rapper. Who'd you give him?
Probably some West Coast, to be honest.
Yeah, like Ice-T.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Or like
Cab Kid.
Too Short or something.
Yeah. I like Too Short.
Schooly D.
You fan of Too Short?
I like Too Short. Fuck with Too Short.
I'm not surprised.
Why?
Because he's 80s.
No, not even that. He's like very simplistic, but I like his persona.
Yeah, he's a good character.
Yeah, I just like his persona. But yeah.
That was actually a solid list, lads.
Salute.
Solid list.
Thank you. Yours too, man.
Hey, man, we try.
We do. And with that, we are going to bid you adieu. So thank you very much for listening once again. We back, baby.
We're moving.
First episode of 2022 is in the books. Yeah, man. Thank you very much for listening. Get at us on the socials. We're on @RhymesDimesPod on Instagram and Twitter. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Rate us on Spotify. Spotify has introduced a new rating system. So if you go on our show page, you can rate us out of 5 stars. So please give us a rating. It really helps us grow. Lads, any shout outs you want to make?
It's a new year, man, but the same premise, man. Big up Cleo Soul.
Absolutely.
Hey, that's never going to stop. That's never going to stop. Do you know what's going to be a fun story on this topic the day that I meet her? I'll probably fan out.
That's an intro in it.
I'll definitely fan out. But yeah, big up Cleo Soul always, man.
She'll be a guest one day, inshallah.
Yeah, inshallah.
Mo, any shout outs?
Nah, man. I got one shout out. There was a dickhead when I went to the Nottingham Forest fans against Arsenal match. There was one dickhead I just kept pointing and laughing at my section. I wanted to punch him up. So I want to shout him out because he really got my nerves and it worked.
Shout out the guy you nearly thumped.
Nah, do you know what it is? He was just, there's like.
You lost that game, didn't you?
Yeah, fam. And that's the first away game I went to in my life.
You were awful that game, man. Damn.
We deserve to lose it, man.
I don't think I have any shout outs, but shout out to you guys, the listeners, man. You know, without you,
Always.
we ain't nothing. So thank you
Always.
for your continued listenership. You'll hear from us again in 2 weeks' time. But until then, stay safe, stay blessed, and peace.
Peace, love, harmony.
Sincerity.
Sincerity. Yeah.